আসসালামু আলাইকুম অ্যান্ড গুড ইভিনিং। যারা যেখানে আছেন সুধীবৃন্দ, সবাইকে আমি শুভেচ্ছা এবং স্বাগতম জানাচ্ছি। আজকে আমাদের থার্ড এপিসোড অফ মিট দ্য মাস্টার প্রোগ্রামে আমি আছি আপনাদের সাথে এক্সিকিউটিভ ডিরেক্টর ভ্যালর অফ বাংলাদেশ। ভ্যালর অফ বাংলাদেশ আপনাদের সামনে প্রতিনিয়ত এক্সপার্ট নিয়ে আসছেন, লিডার নিয়ে আসছেন, academicians নিয়ে আসছেন to discuss contemporary issues pertaining to economy, pertaining to organizational development, and also a few national priorities. এবং আমরা চেষ্টা করে আসছি এই এক্সপার্টস এবং এই লিডার্স যারা আমাদের মাঝে আসছেন তাদের কথাগুলি তুলে ধরার জন্য এবং এগুলোকে একটি ম্যানুস্ক্রিপ্ট আকারে পরে আমরা তুলে ধরবো আবার। সো আজকে এই মিট দ্য ম্যাস্ট্রো প্রোগ্রামে আমাদের সাথে আছেন একজন অতি গুরুত্বপূর্ণ মানুষ। এই জন্য গুরুত্বপূর্ণ যে এন্টায়ার ডিজিটাল ফাইন্যান্সিয়াল সিস্টেম যখন নাকি বাংলাদেশে গত কোভিড-19 একটা অনেক বড় রোল প্লে করছিল, এনারা পিছন থেকে তৎপরতার সাথে আমাদের জীবনটাকে যতটুকু সম্ভব সুবিধাময় করে দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করছিলেন। এবং আজকে যিনি আছেন, হি ইজ অ্যান MBA in finance from Pune University, India, bachelor's in commerce from Delhi University, India, and he is no other but Mr. Munuddin Ragid, Chief Financial Officer of Bikash Limited. মঈন ভাই, আমাদের মাঝে আসার জন্য আপনাকে অত্যন্ত আন্তরিকভাবে ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি আমরা। এবং সুধীবৃন্দ, আপনাদেরকে বলছি, উনি 2012 সাল থেকে যেটা বলতে পারি যে সিন্স যখন নাকি বিকাশ হাঁটি হাঁটি পা পা করছিল তখন থেকে উনি বিকাশের সাথে আছেন। অ্যান্ড বিফোর দ্যাট হি সার্ভ ব্রিটিশ আমেরিকান টোব্যাকো বাংলাদেশ ফর 5 years. সো মঈন ভাই, থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। এখন আমরা চলে যাচ্ছি মঈন ভাইয়ের কাছে ওনার সম্বন্ধে কিছু শোনার জন্য। মঈন ভাই, প্লিজ টেল আস about yourself.
Good evening and assalamu alaikum to all. Alwa bhai, thank you for having me over. It's a pleasure to be addressing this crowd. To tell you about a little bit of myself, Alwa bhai bolechen, I used to work for BAT. I actually worked for BAT for 16 years. And then 2012 সালে I joined Bikash. So in fact a couple of days ago I celebrated my 9th year at Bikash. So আমি যখন Bikash join করি, we were 2 million customers, and today I take pride in saying that we are about 55 million customers. So I've had the opportunity of witnessing one of the spectacular growth, and I'm sure a lot of people would envy me by seeing by being in an industry which has seen such excitement. And every day to me is আজকে অফিসে আসার আগে সকালে চিন্তা করি গাড়িতে আজকে জানি কি হবে, and that is really something I personally thrive on. And yeah, 9 years have gone by, but it doesn't feel like 9 years. So I won't take any longer. Let's move on.
I want to ask you one more question. I mean, BATB has been, you were of course in BATB on a financial manager role, but what is that you have found? My question is, what is that you have found which has sort of inspired you to come to Bikash? That's number one. And because this is one message that should the young audience, if you have any, they should also listen to this because তখন তো বিকাশ মাত্র শুরু হলো. So what went through your mind?
Right.
And number two is,
Right.
how is it different now that you have spent 6 years, 7 years? How is it different than any other traditional organization where there are financial managerial role and managerial role in Bikash or leadership role in Bikash?
Well, I actually I started my career in BAT in 1996. So immediately after I passed out, Pune theke, I came back to Bangladesh and I joined BAT. And I have learned so much in BAT, and I'll always be eternally grateful for BAT has actually helped me sow the foundation seeds for which there's so much to be learned, and BAT is an excellent place where process people are trained. So 16 years I spent. I did an overseas stint outside for 2 years. A lot of exposure to a lot of processes, to a lot of people, and they're all world-class processes. After having done 16 years, the reason why I decided to move on, basically Bikash was so much unknown, but it just the whole concept of Bikash was so exciting to me. And I mean, and I could go on talking about it, but it's just back in 2012 where I said we were at a very embryonic stage at Chilam, and this whole concept of bringing financial inclusion through a very basic Nokia phone, যেখানে কোনো smartphone না, and everyone could have access to financial services. And that was just the whole concept was very exciting to me. And this is a typical example of how technology democratizes a product. So and I even in hindsight I said, wow, this has been such a great journey to me.
Well, you are one of the Poncho Pando of Bikash. That much I can say. So let us now go forward with our program today. So dear audience, you will hear for next 30 minutes exclusively from Moin Bhai. Moin Bhai, আমরা আপনার কাছ থেকে শুনতে চাইবো on and as the audience, as you know, we are going to discuss governance in digital financial system. আমরা আজকে মোহিন ভাই থেকে শুনবো what actually happened behind the scene when COVID-19 was ravaging the country and digital financial system was up there trying to cope up with the policy, regulatory transformation, and at the same time, the rapid change induced by COVID-19 and how they facilitated, and what are those areas where they had to sort of get adjusted with and adapt with. Number two is, what about the present infrastructure of the digital financial system, including what about the incentives that is there to support the digital financial system and its transformation. And finally, I look forward to hear from you on the future of digital financial system, its challenges and opportunities, which we seem to be seem to us very bright. So over to you, Moin Bhai. Thank you, Moin Bhai. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So what I'll do is I'll cover what you said, and I'll also just give you a brief how the industry has evolved over the past 9 years. Just to give everyone how far we have come and how we've done this. So thank you. I'll start off. So আমি যেটা একটু আগে বলছিলাম audience-কে, and I'll try not to speak about Bikash rather than the industry. That will be the basic premise.
That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea.
Yeah. So I joined, as I said, in October 2012, and when I joined, and I was speaking to the founder Kamal Kadir, and the whole concept of Bikash was back then less than 20% people had access to a bank account. When I say a bank account, a bricks and mortar bank account, less than 20% people had access to a bank account. However, about more than 80% people had access to a phone, a basic phone. So then the whole concept was, okay, people don't have, and why did people not have bank account? People didn't have bank account because it does not make any sense for banks to have branches গ্রামগঞ্জে, because একটা একটা গড়ে একটা ব্যাংকের একটা গ্রাহকের টিকিট সাইজ 700-800 টাকা হয়। এখন 700-800 টাকা টিকিট সাইজের জন্য it doesn't make any economic sense for banks to open branches across Bangladesh. So that's the reason why banks do not have as many branches in the rural or the semi-urban areas. So the whole concept was that ঠিক আছে 80% লোকের কাছে মোবাইল ফোন আছে and 20% কম লোকের কাছে ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট আছে. How do we bridge this gap? So using technology, bringing financial services, basic financial service, not that Bikash to LC to khula jate, but basic financial services. And basic financial services basically মানে তিনটা জিনিস, একটা হলো ক্যাশ ডিপোজিট করা, একটা হলো ক্যাশ উইথড্র করা, একটা হলো একটা অ্যাকাউন্ট খোলা. So that's when technology played a role in figuring out how we could have a platform where people could access basic financial services through their mobile phone. That's really the whole genesis or the whole reason, purpose for Bikash. That was the initial purpose of Bikash. So that's how Bikash really started. Now, one thing I would want to make clear, similar to bank account, প্রতিটা bank account-এর পিছনে কিন্তু একটা KYC আছে, know your customer আছে. And similarly, at least for money, Bikash's সবগুলো 55 million customers, each of them have a KYC. And KYC পিছনে there is a national identification, the NID document আছে. So every time one opens a Bikash account, that NID gets validated or verified against the election database in the Election Commission database. So each of them are verified. Each of these 55 million accounts are verified through the verified on a real-time basis on the Election Commission data. So this is again a technological intervention. যেখানে without a verification, an account is not open, and you can only transact a Bikash wallet after you're verified. So that's really the starting of Bikash. Before I go any further, I just want to highlight and appreciate the fact that Bangladesh Bank, our regulator, had a significant role to play in the evolution of this whole industry. They, every now and then they circulate these guidelines, and these guidelines are regularly updated, keeping in sync with what the market developments are. For example, very recently they gave a guideline on how we should manage the trust account. Trust account money customer je deposit rakhe amader kache. How do we manage that to make sure that the customers' deposits are well secured, kept in the right places, and this is something. It's really we appreciate that from the regulators. Yet they're also constantly thinking about how customer deposits should be secured via the commercial banks where we keep these customer deposits. And then আরেকটা কথা হলো the operating model of any MFS operator here in Bangladesh is that it has to be a bank-led model. And what do you mean by a bank-led model? Is bank should have a controlling stake or controlling share in the operator. So in the case of Bikash, it's BRAC Bank, and of course there's a lot of appreciation and gratitude that goes out to BRAC Bank in where we are. So that's really Bangladesh Bank. They're constantly thinking about it. They've given a operating model. ওইটার ভিতরে we have to function. So they've allowed us to grow within a certain purview, and that's exactly what is expected from a regulator. Moving on to how the industry has performed. So, I mean, just to give you an example or give you a framework, আমরা যদি জুলাই 2013 চিন্তা করি, which is about 8 years ago, জুলাই মাসে this whole industry had a transaction value of 5,200 কোটি টাকা. That was the সারা মাসে এত ভলিউম ট্রানজাকশন হয়েছে. নাও এটা যদি আমি এখন 8 বছর পরে জুলাই 21 এর ট্রানজাকশন দেখি, the whole industry 3,26,000 কোটি টাকার ট্রানজাকশন হয়েছে. So from 5,200 crores, 8 years later is 326,000 crore. Yeah. So that's roughly 62 times growth over this span. মানে আপনি যদি, if that's a very large number to digest, এটাকে যদি আমি দৈনিক ভাবে করি, 2013 সালে আমাদের মানে ইন্ডাস্ট্রির ডেইলি ট্রানজাকশন was 174 crores, যেটা এখন আজকের দিনে 2,100 কোটি টাকা দৈনিক ট্রানজাকশন হচ্ছে আপনার ইন্ডাস্ট্রিতে. কতগুলি গ্রাহক আছে আমাদের সারা ইন্ডাস্ট্রিতে, এমএফএস ইন্ডাস্ট্রিতে? গ্রাহক অ্যাজ পার দ্য বাংলাদেশ ব্যাংক ডেটা জুলাই মাসে ছিল 10 কোটি 20 লক্ষ গ্রাহক আছে. How does that compare with the number of customers with all the banks put together? All the banks put together have 6 কোটি গ্রাহক. So the banking industry in Bangladesh is, as let's say, as old as Bangladesh, which is 50 years. MFS industry has been here for what, 11 years? So 11 বছরে 10 কোটি গ্রাহক versus the conventional banks, it's 6 কোটি গ্রাহক. So that's, I'm just trying to give a comparison here. আমাদের 2013 সালে যে 10 কোটি গ্রাহক বর্তমানে আছে, 2013 সালে এটা 72 লক্ষ গ্রাহক ছিল. সো গ্রাহক সংখ্যাও অনেক বাড়ছে. এই যে 10 কোটি গ্রাহক আছে, about 40% of them are active. So when we say active, I mean somebody who has done a financial transaction. এখন আমি যদি আমার ওয়ালেটে যদি ব্যালেন্স চেক করি, that does not contribute to any active customer. I have to do some sort of a financial transaction. Either have to send money, do a cash in or a cash out. So 40% of that is active, and which is a very respectable number, even in global standards. and most of these customers actually interact at an agent point. I'm sure most of you have seen a MFS agent point. They're all over the place. It's ubiquitous. আমাদের MFS ইন্ডাস্ট্রিতে সারা বাংলাদেশে there are 3 লক্ষ এজেন্ট পয়েন্ট আছে. and এজেন্ট পয়েন্টে, যেটা আমি শুরুতে বলছিলাম, এজেন্ট পয়েন্টে 3টা বেসিক ফাইন্যান্সিয়াল সার্ভিসেস দেওয়া যায়. একটা হলো আপনি ক্যাশ ইন করতে পারবেন, মানে টাকা ডিপোজিট করতে পারবেন বিকাশ আপনার এমএফএস অ্যাকাউন্টে, ক্যাশ আউট করতে পারবেন, আর একটা অ্যাকাউন্ট খুলতে পারবেন. এই 3টা জিনিস, বেসিক জিনিস, একটা এজেন্ট পয়েন্টে করা যায়. এজেন্ট পয়েন্টটাকে one can look at it as a human ATM, where you can, it's a very basic tool নিয়ে বসে, very basic একটা shop. As I said, it's almost like a human ATM. So as I said, with the 3 লক্ষ এজেন্ট পয়েন্ট আছে সারা বাংলাদেশে, how does that compare with the ATMs of banks? That just making a comparison, সমস্ত ব্যাংকগুলোর এটিএম যদি আমরা যোগ করি, 12,500 এটিএম আছে. So there is an MFS agent point in every village in Bangladesh, and that is really what has led to such massive growth of this industry. But initially, age jeta hoto, people used to send money through, let's say, a very informal channel. It was not secured, and it was only when MFS came into the picture, sending money has become an instantaneous and secured. I mean, every time a transaction happens over MFS from the point to point, because it's a technology, it's a digital transaction, there is traceability at every point. And in the event of any mishap occurring, it's very easy to trace back. And this has also led to, trust being the customers trusting this system. So that was about agent point. And that's really money. Ekhon Bangladesh to withdraw money from any MFS account is just, you should take 2 steps from your house and you'll find an agent point. It's as convenient as that. Now, if I were to speak, যে এই যে 3,26,000 কোটি টাকার যে ট্রানজাকশন হলো জুলাই মাসে, কি ট্রানজাকশন হয়েছে? So as most of you can guess, সবচেয়ে বড় product holo cash out. So কি হয়, মানে what we have seen is the cities, there are 3 or 4 cities যেখানে where wages are earned. For example, Dhaka, Chittagong, Narayanganj. These are the যেখানে people earn, and they send money to their near ones living in rural Bangladesh or semi-urban, semi-rural, or rural Bangladesh. So এই ঢাকা, চিটাগং, নারায়ণগঞ্জে কি হয়, we always see যে এখানে অনেক লোক টাকা জমা দেয়. So there's a lot of cash in happening. And এই say গাইবান্ধা, other places, এখানে আমরা দেখি অনেক cash out হয়. So people are sending money from Dhaka to Gaibandha. So Dhakate cash in হচ্ছে. So the agents are generally they are flushed with cash in Dhaka. In Gaibandha, for example, agents always need cash because the customers are demanding cash. So one of the tricky things of these fund management is to make sure that the agent always has cash. I mean, imagine if you were to go to an agent point and say 1,000 টাকা cash out করবো, and the agent says, "Bhai, টাকা নেই," and that would be disaster for any operator. So it's a very difficult task for the operators to make sure that there is enough liquidity in the market, so that agents, so that customers get the cash on demand. So cash out is the most important product. It has been the most important product since the inception of bKash, and I'll talk about this, how cash out evolution হয়েছে a little later. So cash out is the most important. The second most important product in terms of volume is send money, অথবা P2P, যেটা person to person, অথবা send money. Send money, basically it means যে you using your wallet, you send money from let's say I send money to my brother. So through bKash, I have a bKash account, my brother has a bKash account, I send him money. And he can then use that money that he's received from me for many purposes. He can pay his bills, he can do another P2P, he can cash out. We have seen that send money also has taken a phenomenal growth. For example, again, July মাসে যদি এক্সাম্পলটা নেই, 20,000 কোটি টাকার send money হয়েছে. So that what does that mean? It means people are, the ecosystem, the digital ecosystem is only spreading. It's increasing, because if I send my brother money, he has to have an MFS account. If my brother sends his friend some money, he also has to MFS account. So eventually that helps in the traction of this whole ecosystem growing. So send money is increasingly becoming a popular product. The next thing I'd like to highlight is there's a salary disbursement, particularly a ready-made garments. There there are about 3 million, 30 লক্ষ employment generation হয় RMG সেক্টরে, and more than 1/3 of that is being served. Their salaries or their wages are being paid through some digital through one of the MFS operators. So how does that help? একটা হলো এই যে RMG factories their cash handling, because it's a massive amount of cash that people have to withdraw from the banks, put it in an envelope, give it to them. ওইটা এখন লাগে না, they just it's now done through MFS, and that has significantly I would say brought in efficiency into this whole system. Leakages কমে গেছে, and that has also helped for the factory owners. That would also have brought a lot of efficiencies in their operations, because generally payday আমরা দেখেছি factory production goes down because people are busy counting the cash and dispersing the cash and so on. So that's brought a lot of efficiencies into the whole ecosystem, because cash involvement কমে গেছে, and also it has brought efficiencies or increased the production of the garments factory. So salary disbursement আমরা increasingly দেখছি অন্য factoriesরাও adopt করার চেষ্টা করছে, because they've realized the value of taking out the cash element of salary. And then, like in most factories in Bangladesh, a lot of cash salaries are now generally paid in cash, and they're increasingly there's awareness যে এটাকে কিভাবে digitize করা যায়. The other thing that I want to touch upon, the other use case that I want to talk about is merchant payments. When I joined 9 years ago, nobody even knew যে একটা MFS wallet থেকে merchant payment করা যায়. But now there's a lot of money has been invested by the industry in awareness of merchant payments. You would have definitely seen some promotion or the other to with the intention of increasing the awareness. So that has increased. However, that is an area. Merchant payment is really the future of digital financial ecosystem. We are moving there. Awareness to which, so if step one is awareness. However, volumes will come in, is increasing, but there's a lot of potential in the merchant payment space. So that's an area we need to watch out, and really that will be the true cashless ecosystem. Making payments cashless will be the determining factor of a genuine, true digital ecosystem. The other thing I want to talk about is the আলবাভাবে শুরুতে বলছেন কোভিডে আমাদের রোলটা কি ছিল. So I still remember it was 26th March 2019 where we went for a shutdown. Office went for a shutdown, and 2 months later, there were two big things that happened, which really gave a push to adoption of digital, MFS industry, or adoption of digital financial services. One was Bangladesh Bank. The government basically said there were stimulus packages given to particularly the RMG sector by the banks, and one of the conditions was in order for the RMG factories to avail this stimulus, they had to give salaries to their workers digitally or over MFS. So it was a massive work done by all the operators in terms of enrolling these beneficiaries, the factory workers into the MFS ecosystem. So it was literally done overnight. As I said, 30 লক্ষ such wage beneficiaries are there. It was a massive work being done. We had to work really hard to get these people on board, and that really pushed the uptake of workers particularly in the RMG sector take that salary through their Bkash. So that was a massive step in recognition or acknowledging that yes, this is a secure channel of receiving salaries. So ওইটা একটা ছিল. The other thing was the government did a lot of payouts. For example, there was this payout of 2500 টাকা at the very low end of society. The 2500 টাকা was given as grant by the government because of COVID. And then again, the MFS operators were called to disperse these massive amount of funds from the government to the very, very bottom of the pyramid people. And that was again a massive work because first of all, the ministry had to identify who are these people who's eligible for these disbursements. ওইটা করার পরে verification করেছে, and then so eventually all the operators did a good job. There were millions of people were giving away these disbursements, and the best part for this was এখানে কি হয় there's because it's a digital channel, one can be sure the right person has received the right amount. And as I said before, a digital payment, so there's a trace there's a footprint that's left behind. So in the event of any wrongdoing, we exactly know where it went wrong. So, and then besides that, COVID যেটা আলবাব ভাই highlight করেছেন, COVID the whole country came to a standstill the early part of COVID, and even agent point বন্ধ হয়ে গেছিল because people were not allowed to go out on the streets. So তখন আমরা দেখেছি যে, for example, airtime top up that increased. So there was a sudden hike in people recharging their mobile using the MFS channel. We also saw কি বলে offline payments সামান্য বেড়েছে, online payment সামান্য বেড়েছে. People were doing their groceries, particularly in the urban areas. People were doing their groceries using Bkash or any other operator. So that was a slight bump there in terms of COVID. And in all honesty, now that things have subsided and things are back to normal, that COVID really helped in establishing that there is an alternative way other than cash of transacting. COVID এর পরে it took a bump, it came down, but it didn't come down to pre-COVID levels. So একটা general uptake হয়েছে for COVID. আরেকটা area that I really want to highlight is pay bill. So pay bill is again a relatively new product. এই 2020 সালেই মানে the whole industry to seriously started to focus on pay bill. So এখন most of the public utility service providers, DESA, DESCO, Titash, WASA, Chittagong WASA, Khulna WASA, all of these major utility providers are now connected to some operator or the other. So এখন বাসায় বসে one can pay their utility bills. Besides the government utility bills, there are private utility providers like internet, cable TV. So and that is again, we've started to do that. It is growing, but we are only scratching the surface. There's lots more to be done in terms of pay bill. But basic কাজটা হয়ে গেছে. Now it's about uptake. I mean, and customers are also realizing the value of paying bills. Imagine আগে কি হতো? I mean people used to send the darwan or nije jeto stand hours at a bank, so they don't mind even paying a convenience fee and paying their bills. So pay bill is an area where we are the whole industry is embarked on this journey, but it's only the start, and there's lots more to go. There's a lot of room for there to grow. The other fascinating product that's there, it's also blooming. It's ironic, yes, is international remittance. International remittance, I mean, I think after RMG, it's probably the second largest source of hard currency for Bangladesh. International remittance, I mean, আমি যদি জুলাই মাসের কথা বলি, of the total remittance that came into Bangladesh in July, nearly 2% of that came via the MFS channel, and that is a commendable achievement. 2% in such a short span is a commendable achievement, and it's for those of you who don't know, it's almost a real-time money transfer. I mean, if somebody sends me money from wherever, Middle East or wherever, it's almost real-time. I get the money in my wallet, and then ekbar taka ami jodi amar wallet e pai, if my brother sends me money from wherever he's working, I get it in real time, and then I can just step out of my house, go to an agent point and I cash out, or I make a merchant payment, or I do something or the other. And as opposed to the previous way of going to a bank, so ওই convenience টাও has I think has a lot of potential. Because MFS their ticket size it's small relative to a bank, so the millions of dollars will not come through bKash, but for a regular or somebody who's a wage earner, he prefers that he sends small ticket size at a more frequent basis, because his earning is not that much. He sends small ticket size. As he earns, he sends to his family members. So what we see is the ticket size are small, but the frequency of sending money has increased. So and 2% is a very respectable number, and I'm sure going to the future, this will grow, and it will also help the country in making the reserves and all that. For the persons who are banked customers, there's good news. For someone like me, if I had to put funds into my bKash wallet, I will have to go to an agent point. There are many such many customers, like myself, for example, agent point jawa hoy na, but I have a bank account and I have a card, so I can pull money from my bank into my bKash wallet, or using my credit card, Visa, MasterCard, I can pull money from there. So এখন nearly 30টা bank থেকে টাকা আনা যায়, and Visa, MasterCard থেকে টাকা আনা যায়. So for all the white collar people who have bank accounts, it's very easy for them to pull money. So that has really added a lot of convenience to customers' life. I just want to touch upon online payments. We all know that there's a massive amount, a significant number of merchants, let's say on Facebook. Every day we see, I mean, at least I get SMSs from so many small online merchants, and it's inevitable that e-commerce will grow, and with the growth of e-commerce, online payments will also grow. So cash on delivery, which is currently the majority method of settling, will, I think, in the future will decline, and online payments are going to go. And in order to get the trust of customers paying through online, going into the future, there could be an infrastructure, a technological infrastructure, where the buyers, the sellers, the delivery persons, they're all connected. So it's a bit like the escrow system, and it's there in certain parts of the world. At a buyer, he ordered for a stuff, or it pelo, he has to make sure, the delivery man has to make, after he delivers, if there's a system where the buyer says, okay, I received the goods that I wanted to, and there's a confirmation, and then only the payment gets released. So these are areas where we need to work on going to the future for a real traction of online payments. Now I just, on a, I've taken you through the industry on a cost. I just want to summarize. So what's the trend? The trend is people are increasingly using the other use cases other than cash out. Cash out was a significantly dominant portion of the total product portfolio. As in, the industry is almost very frequently they're introducing new products. So as we see introduction of new products, we see the proportion of cash out, because cash in, cash out korle, and that's the end of the story. But if people are using different products like pay bill, merchant payments, online payments, paying the school fees, onek to product ache. If they do that, then this whole the whole high level concept of moving on to a cashless digital ecosystem will only thrive. So over this past 8-10 years, I would say MFS industry at a depth hoyeche. People are aware, almost everyone is aware of what the MFS industry. So there's a depth that's come in. Now the future will be how it's about the breadth now. Product ashpe, the use cases ashpe. So the future is how do we expand this ecosystem? Depth hoye geche, as I said, 10 koti grahok ache. So people are aware of this. But it's just that now the industry will promote the use cases, kibhabe oi wallet take, account take use kora jay. And that to me will really be the turning point for Bangladesh to move on to a truly digital payment era. So that was it from me, Albab. I hope I covered your points. I'm happy to take on the questions.
Right. No, it was a great deliberation. I mean, you spoke of the genesis, then you spoke of the exponential growth during the pandemic, and how it's still expanding in terms of its expansion in multifarious dimension, rather 360-degree, I would say. And all we can understand is it's the new normal now. The new normal that we were talking about constantly, during the time of pandemic. But this is something and I think the new normal is a digital economy, which has morning shows the day, and what bKash or this digital financial system industry has shown that we are living in a digital economy now. And আমি মঈন ভাই এখন কয়েকটা কোয়েশ্চেনে চলে যেতে চাই, বিকজ এখানে অনেক অডিয়েন্স আমাদেরকে বিভিন্নভাবে কোয়েশ্চেন করেছেন. So for instance, I just want to touch base with one question. There will be some repetitions of what you have said. However, what can we expect in the future from bKash? Very broad question, I believe. So what would be your one-line answer to this?
Yeah, so as I said, industry te depth esheche. Now it's about expanding the product. So merchant payment, for example, pay bill, for example, it's all about bringing the convenience into your life. So you would see the industry pushing for, acha apnar to ekhon wallet ache, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. It's all about new products being introduced, new products being going to the market.
Okay. Then, thank you. Then we have another question here. This was from, the first question was from Ms. Rabbani Tamanna. Thank you. We have, this is something that this is a question we have from Mr. Tanmin Siddiqui. What are the main goals of the digital financial strategy?
The first and foremost goal is financial inclusion. Yeah, if you recall,
yes,
that's the whole genesis. Jay, how do we bring more people into the financial net? And that's really reason to purpose of life. Way back in 2012, it still is the purpose of life. So bringing financial inclusion, making sure that every citizen has access to financial services. That's the overriding goal of any digital financial service.
Okay. Thank you, Tanveen. We have another question from Mr. Fahim Tahseen. Thank you, Mr. Tahseen. Does bKash have any plan for international money transfer?
So as I said, bKash, the whole industry, madhyame 2% international remittance esheche. So we are already but it's very early days. But bKash and the other operators are also there in international money transfer. I mean, I'm talking about inward money transfer. Outward I got a bullshit because it's not allowed.
Thank you, Moin Bhai. This is a very interesting question we have from Mr. Navid Iftikhar. We need a common ground for freelancers who brought the money from abroad. Will bKash take any step regarding this?
Of course, the answer is a very straightforward yes. What bKash does is bKash at the end of the day is a channel through which remittances come in, but the rightful way of remittances coming is through the banks. We are only a last mile channel through which we channel the funds from the banks to the wallet. So yeah, if we are doing international remittance, receiving money from freelancers is the same thing, principally speaking. So yes, it's very much a possible product.
We have a last question. As a representative of a fintech company, which is Finexo, Fourth Waves Canada, is there anything that I should be careful about?
Oh, I mean, there are regulations. There's a guideline by Bangladesh Bank. All that has to be, of course, adhered to. Yeah, I mean, this industry has grown a lot, but I would still say that the best is yet to come. So there are set regulations, there are set guidelines. It's all very clear cut. Yeah, that's the only thing one has to adhere to in my view.
Of course, compliance is what we are talking about here, and we are amidst few confusions that are going around. So we should be very careful about adhering to the policies and compliance. Now, Moin Bhai, last I want to wrap up with Amar ekta chotto query chilo. So it's not a question or query, rather I just want to get a clarification on this. In financial terms, they're always talking about this 30 to 1. 30 to 1. Like in 30 seconds, you verify the customer. Then in 3 seconds, you can you give us actually এর ঘটনাটা কি আমি একটু জানতে চাচ্ছি
আচ্ছা, ঘটনাটা is very simple, Alva bhai. I'll give you, forgive me for this, but I'll cite the example of Bkash here because I know it very well. So you are an unregistered Bkash customer and you want to sign up for Bkash. ঠিক আছে? So all you have to do is download the Bkash app, have your NID card ready in your hands, open the app up, the certain আপনার নাম টাম দিতে হবে, and then you click your selfie, and then you click your then you scan your click a picture of your NID card, epit upit, ঠিক আছে? And then you press the send button. ওই pictureটা and your picture, it then gets verified with the NID database.
Okay.
Verification হওয়ার পরে, so the picture has to match with the picture in the NID card, and bingo, you're there, you're registered. And then you can immediately do, you can bring money from your wallet, and then you can do a send money to me, or you can make a merchant payment, or you can do just about anything. So this entire process takes faster than the time I've taken to explain it to you.
Right. Okay, great. So that's the service end, I believe. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Moin bhai, thank you so much for being with us today. It was a great discussion, great chat, and I wish all the best with Bkash, and you guys are doing a wonderful job. And of course, you will be furthermore engaged in giving the country a new dimensions in the industry. Looking forward to that.
Thank you, Albai. Thank you, everyone, for giving me the time and the patience. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
থ্যাংক ইউ। যারা যেখানে আছেন আজকে আমাদের সাথে ছিলেন ধৈর্য ধরে, আপনাদেরকে সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি। অডিয়েন্স, আমরা আবারও ফিরে আসবো এই মিট দ্য ম্যাস্ট্রো সেশন নিয়ে আগামী মঙ্গলবার 8টার সময়। আনটিল দেন, গুড নাইট and Assalamu alaikum.